Sane insanity. Basic sanity should also be assumed to be beyond us. There are too many powerful reasons why we lack anything like an even keel. We have complex histories. We are heading towards the ultimate catastrophe. We are vulnerable to devastating losses. Love will always leave us wanted. The gap between our hopes and our realities is always going to be unbridgeable. In the circumstances, it makes no sense to aim for sanity. We should fix instead on the goal of achieving a wise, knowledgeable, and self-possessed relationship with our manifold insanities, or what can be termed sane insanity. What separates the sane insane from the simply insane is the honest, personable, and accurate grasp they have on what is entirely not right with them. They may be wholly balanced, but they don't have the additional folly of insisting on their normalcy. They could admit with good grace and no particular loss of dignity that they are naturally deeply peculiar at myriad points. They do not go out of their way to hide from us what they get up to in the night, in their sad moments, when anxiety strikes, or during attacks of envy. They can, at their best, be dryly funny about the tragedies of being human. They lay bare the fears, doubts, longings, desires, and habits that don't belong to the story we commonly tell ourselves about who we are. The sane insane among us are not a special category of the mentally unwell. They represent the most evolved possibility for a mature human being. Oh, hello there. Sorry I didn't see you come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. I was just reading a little bit there from The School of Life by Alain de Botton. And check out their excellent YouTube channel, also called The School of Life. There's more to say there, I think, though, about that sane insanity. Maybe some of you are sane insane. Maybe you've always been a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. I know I have for a long time. So it's nice to see someone finally say it in a book. It's nice to see someone say it as a good thing, something to do. That old classic quote from the t-shirts and what have you. I'm sane in a crazy world. Or I'm crazy in a sane world. I don't know which one it is, but either way, it's okay. It's okay to be sane in a crazy world, and it's okay to be insane in a sane world. Like Blondie said, you can go your own way, right? Go your own way. So let's check out what's happening in Bitcoin today, bringing up the old bitcoinal.com here, designed by our friend DJ Booth in Australia. How cool is that? The price of Bitcoin is down 0.18% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 10,484, a high of 10,597, and a low of 10,406. That's $1 for 9,538 Satoshis. Volume was at 2,146 Bitcoins changing hands, and the market continues to lean long, with 84% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 59.43%. And what Bitcoin Talk Show would be complete without a Charles Bukowski poem, right? I only have maybe one book of Buk poems with me, Survive the Move. The rest of the books haven't made it yet. But here it is, a random. I hope we do well here. I don't know about this one. All right, let's see what we've got here. A random Bukowski poem for you guys. And get ready to call in. This is going to be a call-in show. We're starting out a little bit slow to try to build some likes and some interest. We're going to cover the Bitcoin news. It's mainly the price, the price, the price, and the price. Once we've done the price, we're going to talk generally. The topic for today, unless we branch off onto something else, which is always a possibility here. We're not limiting anything, right? We're expanding consciousness. We're not limiting it. But yeah, we're going to talk about our good friend. Well, I like him. Andreas Antonopoulos. We're going to talk about Andreas, his little flirting with Ethereum, the way he's become a multi-coiner, the negative reaction that he's getting on Twitter and on podcasts and things like that. And also the positive things, all the great things about Andreas. We're going to talk about all the speeches and the books and the dedication that he's shown to Bitcoin. And we'll discuss it. We'll debate it. My opinion, Andreas is still a good guy. There's this whole Ethereum thing. There's this whole multi-coin thing. Put all that aside. He's done great things for Bitcoin. He's a good guy. I know him a little bit. He's always been good to me. So I'm staying on that side of it. But it's interesting to see the major reaction from the internet. And I'm going to read some of his comments about the negativity he's received. And I'd also like to take your phone calls and your Skype calls to discuss this and to get your opinion on what you think about Andreas. You think he was good early on, maybe not so good in the middle, he's fine now, something like that. But let's just discuss generally and in a positive, constructive way. That's what we're going to do today on Bitcoin Talk Show. Here's your Bukowski poem from Mockingbird, Wish Me Luck by Charles Bukowski. I've read this book, but I haven't read this poem right now, so I don't know what's going to say. Here you go. Bang, bang. Absolutely sesamoid, said the skeleton, shoving his chalky foot upon my desk. And that was it. Bang, bang. He looked at me, and it was my bone body, and I was what remained. And there was a newspaper on my desk, and somebody folded the newspaper, and I folded. I was the newspaper under somebody's arm, and the sheet of me had eyes. And then I saw the skeleton watching, and just before the door closed, I saw a man who looked partially like Napoleon, partly like Hitler, fighting with my skeleton. Then the door closed, and we went down the steps and outside, and I was under the arm of a fat little man who knew nothing, and I hated him for his indifference to fact. How I hated him as he unfolded me in the subway, and I fell against the back of an old woman. There you go. Charles Bukowski transformed into a newspaper fighting with his own skeleton. I did not know that's where we're going, but that's what you get when you pull a random poem from Mockingbird, Wish Me Luck. And now, if I can find the right button on the button bar, because I don't have a button bar, here's the news on Bitcoin Talk Show on the World Crypto Network. Get ready to call in after the news. Bitcoin 200-week moving average hints price will never go below $6,700. Rising by $200 each month, the 200-week moving average has formed an implied Bitcoin price floor since Bitcoin first appeared in 2009. So there it is again. They're calling a price floor. Again, really cool graphic from Cointelegraph. Look at that sea turtle with the elephants with the Bitcoin on their back. I don't know what the elephants are for, or the sea turtle in space, but I like it. I like everything about it. Evidence in the article, they're quoting Plan B again. So this is the only guy who works in Bitcoin. He has no name. He's a mysterious analyst, and he says Bitcoin will break the habit of a lifetime if it goes lower than 6,700. Always with these predictions. MicroStrategy CEO could liquidate 200 million in Bitcoin on a Saturday. Well, sure. Or a Sunday. Michael Saylor, CEO, says, we can liquidate it any day of the week, any hour of the day. Sounds like he's just more like stating facts here. Like, yes, you can. You can sell your Bitcoin whenever you want. It would be a disaster if you sold it all at once in one market order. You could destroy the price, maybe for a couple of days. But I don't think that's what he's saying here. I think they're blowing it out of proportion. It is true they can sell. It's very unlikely they'd sell their entire position or intentionally destroy the market. That just doesn't make any sense. Bitcoins hit exchanges as Bloomberg touts crypto and DeFi hedge fund seeking $50 million. Well, that's a mouthful of a headline. I did hear about this fund seeking $50 million. It's very cool, but not as cool as MicroStrategy, who could even just liquidate $200 million. So $50 million, not that cool anymore. Strange to say. Christie's auction house to sell first non-fungible token as part of epic Bitcoin artwork. Art historian turned blockchain artist Robert Alice believes the Bitcoin codebase is a culturally and politically significant piece of 21st century history. That's cool. I agree with that. Let's read some more. Blah, blah, blah. The same exact headlines. Here we go. Portrait of a Mind, a monumental series of 40 paintings stretching over 50 meters in length. Drawing on the history of 20th century conceptualism as well as the founding myth of Bitcoin's creation, Portrait of a Mind is a complete hand-painted transcription of the 12.3 million digits of the code that launched the cryptocurrency. By scattering the code base into 40 globally distributed fragments, the project will draw up a global network of 40 collectors where no one individual will hold all the code. Yes. In each work, an algorithm has found a set of hex digits that together are highlighted in gold. These read a set of coordinates that are unique to each painting. 40 locations across 40 paintings. Each location is of particular significance to the history of Bitcoin. Well, it certainly sounds very complicated. Alice says he remains curious as why much of the commemoration of Bitcoin emphasizes the publication of the white paper over and above the code base itself, which for him is the real historical document. Christie's will sell one painting from the series, Block 21, Longitude Latitude, as part of its post-war and contemporary day auction on October 7th at the end of a week-long exhibition of auctioned works in New York. The piece includes a unique fungible token as an integral part of the work and will be offered at an estimated price of $12,000 to $18,000. And it says he's already sold some of these paintings to Changpeng Zhao from Binance and Block chairman Matthew Rozak. All right. I don't know about that. Is this really what we made Bitcoin for? Is this really what it was about? So that we could create a new class of rich people, Changpeng Zhao and Block chairman Matthew Rozak, so they could buy a new class of pointless, rich artwork, making artists kind of rich, at least this guy. I don't know about that. That doesn't seem very Bitcoin. I guess it's nice they're supporting the Bitcoin artists, although again, it's really pushing it with the art actually just being the code. And then this complexity laid on top of the code and the spreading out of the virtual digital code. I joked with artists years ago in like 2014 or something. And I said, all you have to do is put a Bitcoin logo in your artwork and sell it for 10 times as much. And I was kidding, but I was serious because it's true. I've seen lots of artwork where it's a sunny day on the beach and Bitcoin is the sun. Oh, give you 3 Bitcoins for that, man. Maybe not that much, but you get the idea. I'm not sure if that's what it's about. I guess it's nice, but I'm not sure. Just last week, Cointelegraph reported on an auction of a digital art piece based upon Bitcoin's fluctuating price action, which sold for over $100,000. Like Portrait of a Mind, the artwork integrated an NFT to vest its collector with tokenized ownership rights. And this piece, again, was another right place and right time. I don't know if they have a picture, but again, it's a picture of the price. It's a picture of the Bitcoin logo with the price. I don't know. I'd much rather have something like Trevor Jones is creating out of Scotland, actual real artist who can paint. He paints. He can do naturalistic, realistic looking stuff. He chooses to do abstract stuff right now that kind of looks like Picasso. He even says very much inspired by Picasso. I prefer more of that. Even though, again, the same thing could be said. Although Trevor's he's a really cool artist. I met him in England somewhere. Changing screen here. And he does really cool work with AR or QR codes or something where you can scan the artwork and it'll play a video. And that's really cool. And he's been breaking the edge of art with that. So he's traditionally trained and he's breaking through that. I'd prefer to see more of that than this. We took the code, we took the price, we made some work. And that's not to say I don't like the classic bear whale artwork. That was great work. I don't have it right here, but it's you can see the wave coming through and you can see the bear and he's fighting. And then they used the chart to make the wave. So you can see the bear whale chart in the background. That's really cool. I also like that guy. Hodl Gang, something like that. Sorry. But he does great woodcuts. And he did a woodcut of the wave of Mount Fuji, one of those woodcuts by Hokusai. And he put the chart of Bitcoin on the mountains. Stuff like that is really cool. That's like a little tie-in. I'm not so sure about this. Just put the price, put the code on a painting. Stock market endgame will crash Bitcoin. Forbes magazine. The only single thing that has been driving the global markets today is liquidity. That means that assets are being driven solely by the creation, flow, and distribution of old and new money.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Value is toast, at least for now. And where the money flows in, prices rise. And where it ebbs, they fall. This is where we sit now, whether it's for gold, Bitcoin, or equities. The money has been flowing in torrents.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Since COVID, with global governments flushing their systems with huge quantities of money and credit to keep the game going. That has come shuddering to a halt, with support programs ending and at its core the United States bailout program stuck in presidential politics. If equity markets now crash, everything will go down with it. What do you guys think about the stock market endgame will crash Bitcoin by Forbes? There's also more than 430 altcoins now derived from Bitcoin. Since its genesis in 2009, Bitcoin has produced around 436 altcoin offspring and counting. And they've got a picture of a fork. All right, so we've reached the Andreas section, so I want to go ahead and open this up for phone calls. Where's my button? Here we go. You guys can call now. Let me get the chat up here. This is going to take, half second or so. Looks like there's about 14 people watching in YouTube. Say hello. And we're going to try to get this. Got to find the number. There we go. And put it in the chat. If you'd like, you can call now at 1-518-600-1949. International calls may apply. Or call us on Skype at WorldCryptoNetwork. All one word. Just go ahead and call in. Talk about anything you want. Talk about this Andreas issue. Talk about the price. Tell me what you think about this Forbes article. Stock market endgame will crash Bitcoin. And I do think this is probably a good place to start today, although there's a lot of news and a lot of fun stuff out there to talk about. I think this one has a particular interest because it's fun to say that Bitcoin is, what's it called? A store of value. Bitcoin. Ooh, here we go. Got a phone call. Hold on a sec. I got to change the audio. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Jeremy, and I'm calling from Montreal, Canada.
Hey, Jeremy. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
So I always, what's on my mind is always like price action and adoption.
Sure.
Those are the main things that I like to think about. But in particular, I had a few things on my mind recently. One of them was this Dave Portnoy investor having this weird investment thing with the Winklevoss twins. I'm assuming you saw that?
Yep, I saw the video, and I saw his green power hammer that apparently he uses to punish stocks when they're bad. I'm not sure how effective that is. But yeah, what do you think?
So I saw that, and I was disgusted by it. It was everything that is bad about investing in Bitcoin because it's just like a gimmick, a get rich quick type of thing. And he came off so negatively to me, that guy Dave Portnoy. So first of all, I hadn't heard of him before. Apparently, some kind of a investor of some kind in Wall Street, I guess, and maybe he has an online following. I'm assuming it's just online people that follow him, maybe on YouTube or something like that, and he tells them about investments. Because I can't believe that he's any type of a mainstream, CNBC type of a guy.
It is pretty crazy how much of a following a person can have out there on YouTube. And the stock market has been up for, I don't know, the past 3 or 4 years. So if you just kept picking up and you kept hitting it, and a bunch of people then believed that you're good at picking up, even though the entire trend was up, right? I don't know, you can get a pretty large following. So it sounds like he's got a pretty large legitimate stock market following, even though, to you or me, he seems kind of like a clown banging this green hammer, doesn't seem very knowledgeable or interested in the fundamentals. He's not investing in value. But there's a lot of people like that, right? He's gambling, and maybe he's gambling well. But I heard he lost $25,000 in Bitcoin and then walked away.
I think I heard similar, that he had lost money. You're totally right that you could be a big name on YouTube. You could become more important than the mainstream media. You could become a Joe Rogan type of a guy that everybody follows or is interested in. So I don't mean to demean him because of that. I'm saying that he had none of the qualities of a personality. None of that came through in any positive way, that this is somebody that I'd be interested in, that I'd want to listen to. He seemed so crass. He seemed like a jerk. All of his questions, that first of all, demanding the meeting with the Winklevosses in order to what's up with this Bitcoin business? They're good, the Winklevi twins, they'll explain it to me. And they could dress up in their outfits, their cute outfits from when they were Olympic rowboat team or whatever they were. And he was just so demeaning. And I actually feel, I don't know if it made sense, if it was worth it for the Winklevi to go meet with him. I get, probably the truth is, any exposure is good exposure, or at least that's what we used to say in Bitcoin. I don't know if it's the same now, but he definitely has a big platform, this Dave Portnoy guy. But yeah, I wanted to just make mention that I saw the interview. I thought he was totally rude. I thought there was no education about Bitcoin going on there. When the Winklevosses were there, it was the most basic of things, that you can get a Gemini account and invest the money, and you buy the Bitcoin there, period. Everything else was just, it's on the computer, it's in the air. I don't even know what it is.
The other great part about it is when he was talking to the Winklevi, is that almost immediately they went to the idea of him creating his own coin. The sequence was great. It was one of these classic, he hears about Bitcoin, he hears Bitcoin's really valuable. You can see the gears running in his head. The monkeys are running on the wheel. And then all of a sudden he's like, I could make my own coin. And the Winklevi seem fine with that. They're like, we could list it. It'd be fantastic. Rah, rah, rah. So they've never been the greatest Bitcoiners. They've never been that great support. other than with the investment and the money, which again, respect, but they made 100x. They made, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars off Bitcoin. But yeah, I remember they made a speech at Money 2020 in like 2014. And I went there and filmed it and stuff. And they didn't know anything then. They were doing like a basic introduction to Bitcoin. And it doesn't look like they know anything now. It feels like Don and Eric Trump just walked in to tell old Portnoy there about Bitcoin. And do you think he was well served? Do you think he would have been better off if he talked to Andreas or a programmer or anyone else like that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he would have been better off talking to. Well, you know what? It's not the problem of who he talked to. It wasn't the Winklevoss's fault. It's just he has a big platform and he was guiding the conversation. And when somebody is so out of it and knows nothing and he's just throwing these, tangent comments that are non-educated left and right, I just didn't feel it served anything. I don't think it's the Winklevoss's fault. Perhaps maybe if they would have decided to control the conversation and tell them, all right, you want to understand Bitcoin, you're putting in your money. The first rule of Bitcoin is actually to listen to an educated friend. That's the truth. Like, not your keys, not your coins and that sort of stuff. That's true. But maybe the Zeroth law, if you ever did, the robot books from Isaac Asimov, where you have the Zeroth law of robotics. So the Zeroth, the law before anything else is that when you're educating yourself, find a good source, find a good friend that you can trust that'll actually sit you down and tell you all about it properly, not just give you these hacks. You can't learn about Bitcoin by you being the person asking the question. You can ask one or two questions, but then after that, you got to be able to sit there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and just listen. And that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening from Dave Portnoy.
I hear that. And it reminds me of a description I read of a recent security briefing that they happened to give to the president. And they sat him down and they said halfway through the meeting, the CIA guys hadn't said anything. The president was talking the whole time. So there is a time to talk and a time to listen. And if you want to bring in new information, it's generally best to listen. Even if you disagree with it or have a different idea, wait till the end and then debate with them, then discuss with them. But yeah, it was I don't know. It's another hit or miss. I agree with what you said. I think any publicity is still good publicity in Bitcoin. As big as we are now, we're still really not that big. So anytime this happens, goes out to Portnoy or to anybody else, I think it's good. So.
I did hear what I thought was a great opposite of that conversation. There was another one that I watched recently. Jim Cramer from Mad Money, the CNBC guy. He was on with a Bitcoiner. I don't remember the name of him, and it must have been in the last week or so. And he had, I don't know, a half hour or something like that, or maybe an hour conversation with somebody that started educating. It wasn't, I don't think the interview was meant to be necessarily a Bitcoin thing, but it was a Bitcoiner that he was on the line with. I'm not sure if you saw it. And I thought it was excellent. It showed you Jim Cramer going from skeptical and all of his questions that were skeptical, he really wanted to know the answers. And he started talking about stuff like that he has gold, that he has them in his safety deposit boxes, that he's getting up in age, I don't know, 60 years old or something, and he wants to know that his kids are going to know what to do with the money or where to find it. And he's like, what? First, you're going to have to get the keys, and then you're going to have to call this bank, and then we're going to go in there, and then where do we do them? We're putting them in our pockets, these bars of gold, and then when we take them home, and then we're going to have to find someone to sell them to. And he had all these interesting things, and he was at, some of the questions was, am I doing my children a disservice? Are they not going to understand that in 10 years from now, if I get a will and I want to bequeath to them Bitcoin, is that smarter to have that as a hedge against inflation and to put that sort of a thing aside for my kids? Or am I supposed to be keeping it the way that I've been doing it? That, you know, I've got a mixture of, I've got stocks, I've got real estate, I've got gold. Am I doing the wrong thing? And the guy was like, basically, whatever you've got in gold, your kids are going to be native internet people. They're going to understand it better than you, especially in 10 years from now. It's a bigger hedge on inflation, has a bigger upside that it can have, and risk to reward ratio. And he really had, by the end of that conversation, Jim Cramer seemed educated on it. he was sitting there listening, taking notes, and it was like a night and day. First of all, between him and that guy Dave Portnoy, and it was also night and day from when you see those clips of the persona that this Jim Cramer guy puts on CNBC when he's on Mad Money, you know, jumping around and yelling and stuff like that. He seriously seemed to buy in to Bitcoin with this guy. So that was a great interview. If somebody ever wants to start getting a little bit educated, a lot was explained in there.
Yeah, I think Jim Cramer's a really interesting guy. I agree with you. On TV, on Mad Money, he's jumping around, hammering things, hitting buttons. He seems really silly. And also a lot of the calls he's making are very short-term calls. You can get him a week before saying the opposite, 2 weeks before saying the opposite. But that's just the nature, I think, of that daily CNBC news kind of thing that they're doing. But no, I think it's great that I could see him asking real questions and being interested. I think he's always been on the edge of Bitcoin, almost getting in it. And for all we know, if he's a smart guy, he's bought a couple and socked them away. But yeah, he brings some good points up there, and I could see him doing that. And I could see it being much better than the Portnoy thing. I think a lot of what's going to happen next with Bitcoin is, where are we going to go? Are we going to go more towards Cramer type guys? Are we going to go more towards internet guys like Portnoy? I think, again, we're probably not going to get a choice. I think we're going to go with both. So we're going to be happy with the example sometimes and unhappy other times. Yeah.
Right now, if I could, on another thing that I've been thinking about also about Bitcoin, you see, you know, we mentioned stock market going up and up and up. People, you know, the American government printing trillions of dollars. You've got that sound clip of, we have infinite money at the Federal Reserve.
There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
There you go. There's another line you probably should clip out from, what's that, Jerome Powell, right? There's a line from him where he says, what does he say? He says, oh yeah, somebody asked him, like, where does the money come from on a 60 Minutes type of an interview? And he's like, oh yeah, we just print it digitally, something like that. Like, very casually says we print it digitally.
Nice.
That would be another.
That sounds like a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I could get you the link or something for that, or you could look that up. But the thing that I look at, like the stock market going up, everybody, you know, these governments being hyper about, oh no, if the stock market goes down, it means we've done something wrong. If this stock market busts, it means we've done something wrong. So we're going to do everything we can to inflate it and keep it going. And the stock market doesn't represent any longer the state of the economy. You can't say the economy is doing well when you have all sorts of people unemployed, people staying home from quarantines and stuff like that, and people going out of business. And then you look at it and you say, well, how are we doing? Let's look at the stock market as our metric, and we'll say, wow, we're doing great. So basically the stock market, because of all this government intervention, is like totally decoupled from reality. It's not a representation of how the economy is doing, how America is doing, how the world economy is doing. And I keep waiting to see when Bitcoin is going to separate and decouple. So the stock market's decoupled from the economy, and now I'm waiting to see Bitcoin decouple from the stock market. What I mean by that is, usually the stock market goes up, people get a little bit of extra money, they're ready to be a little bit more risky with their investments, and they invest in Bitcoin at the same time. That's what I feel. I feel that the two of them go up together and the two of them go down together. And so I'm waiting for that to decouple as well. So that when people look, that I want Bitcoin to start going up when the stock market starts going down. That's when I think it'll really mature. That's a big indicator that I've been waiting on for a while.
Well, I think we're going to see it eventually, but I don't know if we're going to be so happy when it does happen. The scenario that I would envision is the stock market taking an unbelievable dump, 80, 90%. The whole thing's gone. Everything's on fire. People are jumping out of windows, all that kind of thing happening. And then you look over and there's Bitcoin still standing there. You know, maybe it took a 30% hit. Of course, it's going to go down, but just still kind of standing there. It still has a nice price, still has a good market to it. And they're going to look at the wreck and the ruins of the stock market, and they're going to be like, what is that Bitcoin thing? well, how do I get some of that? And then maybe it'll go crazy. I don't know, but that's all speculation. No one knows what's going to happen. But
you sound like one of those altcoin type guys, right? They'll say, "Oh, look, Bitcoin's gone down, I don't know, 50%, but this other coin that I've got, look, it's gone down X amount. It's gonna for sure recover and do better." I wonder if that same logic can apply for, I don't know, Ethereum or Bcash or whatever else is out there. It's bound for a comeback.
I'm sure that's what they'd say. There's been some fun tweets lately, people saying, remember when they said Bcash was the real Bitcoin? How's that working out for you? Stuff like that. It's been good.
I like that. Now I guess I'm at fault. I brought it up, but I like that. I could not think about Bcash for 6 months or a year, and it's not even really a thing that's there anymore. It used to be an issue. Oh, is it the backup Bitcoin? Just in case. And no, it's an anecdote. It's a joke. It's just something that comes up. Not in any serious way, at least for me, in my discussions or when I think about Bitcoin.
I just wish they'd do another airdrop. Even though I don't have as much as I used to and all that, back in the day, I got to get a nice laptop with my Bcash airdrop. That was like 3 years ago. And that laptop's getting a little long in the tooth. I could use a new laptop, but I don't think that's happening from Bcash anyway.
They still have good airdrops out there. There was one, I missed it. There was I think it was Mimblewimble had one. Huh. I don't even know how they ended up doing, but I know that was the flavor of the week. I don't know, maybe about a year ago, that it was going to be the privacy coin to beat all privacy coins. It was new technology. I like new technology. That's all good, and especially if they were giving it away in an airdrop. I don't know how that ended up turning out. At a certain point, you say to yourself, Bitcoin does something very well. It's the digital gold. It has the scarcity. It has the network effect. So many people into it. It has more than 10 years of being unbroken. And so it's there for a good reason. The other people that are coming out with all these different coins, it's fine to come out with them. It's fine to test new ideas. Always be innovating. But I don't see any right now being able to beat Bitcoin on its first, being out there first on the field, first mover advantage that it has. Even if you have these other ideas of, oh, this coin's going to be private, or this coin's going to have this gimmick, or you had all these comers, IOTA, I didn't even look into it, but it's got like some kind of a cyclical graph or something. I'm not even sure on the technology.
It was a tangle.
Maybe I should look into it.
There was a tangle. It didn't have a blockchain. It had a tangle. Woo!
And you know what rumor I heard about IOTA right when it came out that always stuck with me? Somebody told me that Steven Spielberg had bought it, or had his company had bought some of it. So therefore, it was going to be big. I mean, everybody's got to get into IOTA if Steven Spielberg is in on it.
I love that. That's a great, I don't know if it's true or not, but just as a creation, what a cool idea for a story. Because Spielberg did that Kubrick movie called AI, and they had like a talking robot teddy bear, and IOTA was kind of about the Internet of Things. So you think maybe that robot teddy bear would be like an IOTA powered device or something if it worked. And then from there, you jump to like big Hollywood guy, lots of money, invests in things. And it has this magic that just hits your mind, and you're like, Steven Spielberg, I love E.T. And then all of a sudden you're buying IOTA or something. So I don't know about that as a plan, but I also remember Mimblewimble was such a big deal. They were talking about it in San Francisco. All the programmer guys, all the cryptographer, the real legit guys, they all seemed really interested in it. But then right before it came out, I read about how people were already mining it, and there were giant firms that were already mining it. They already had huge rooms mining it, and it started to have this smell to me. And I don't know anything about it. I don't have any inside information. It's just, I didn't get a good feeling off Mimblewimble. It felt like it had already been spread. Like the early money, the profits had already been made. Like it just felt like it wasn't a thing. So I didn't know how to buy any, and I didn't buy any anyway. And I guess it went up and it went down, just like everything else. But that's a crazy thing, all these new projects. And then on the other hand, you have something like Tezos, which I don't know very much about either. But I met that guy a bunch of times in San Francisco. Seems like a good guy. Cosmos and Tezos and all these new projects. And all of a sudden, who knows? There's articles saying it may power a stock market or something like that. So I agree. I think you had a good attitude on the different technologies. It's okay to make these test coins, and it's okay to make these altcoins and explore smart contracts and all these ideas. But it's when they start saying they're better than Bitcoin that we have a problem. And it's when they start trying to say that they're good money when Bitcoin is great money. And for me, it's always been that strong money is enough, like sound money. We've been fighting this since Napoleonic times. They were lending money to both sides of the armies. They're, rebuilding, and they'd loan money, and they'd buy weapons, and they'd loan money, and they'd have war, and they'd loan money. And then it was time to rebuild again. And it just started this cycle of endless money loaning and debt and destruction. And I thought maybe if we had something like Bitcoin, something like sound money that the governments couldn't print, we could end all that. And that's a big enough project for me. I don't, smart contracts are cool, and prediction networks and all these other things are cool, but just having that big Bitcoin that would be the sound money for the world, like that's enough to work on. All these other things are cool, and people can work on them. But for me, I just like that sound money for the world.
Yeah. And, that guy, Paul Tudor Jones, that big Wall Street investor, he says Bitcoin is the fastest horse in the race. If you're going to pick something, that's the one that has the most upside. He's got, billions of dollars that he invests. And I think he said somewhere that he had like $100 million invested if he only put in a couple of percent of his portfolio. So,
I like that we have this big support now. I like these big fancy people being into Bitcoin. But at the same time, I'm like, we've all been saying this. We've all been doing this. It just doesn't matter as much. There were no headlines like unemployed Thomas Hunt takes his last $1,000, invests it in Bitcoin. All my savings is gone, he says. No one cares. And I did that a long time ago, a long time before these guys. And again, that was it. That was all I had, and it's in. But I don't know. I guess
Would you be happy? Would you be happy if all the mainstream media type folks were talking up Bitcoin, but all your friends on the podcast and at these conventions and stuff, they all disappeared, and the only people you had were, Fox and Friends in the morning or whatever shows they have?
It feels like we're almost there. It feels like we're going to be there where the original Bitcoiners will be either given up, weeded out, got too tired, need to get a job, whatever it is, all those kind of things. Because it's really easy to say, oh, you had Bitcoin then, you're crazy rich now. It's not really true for a lot of people. You bought as much as you could, you held it as long as you could, but the ups and downs, you had to sell, you had to live, so on and so forth. But the ideas are still there. Like it doesn't matter. I mean, they gave Andreas $1 million. I have $1,000, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's that your ideas are still strong. Like you're still expressing your ideas. So no, I'm fine with it. I think it's going to go that way. I think part of what's been happening so far, going from like a 3 to 5 podcast world to a, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 Bitcoin podcasts. I don't know how many there are. It seems like more every day. It's a good thing. But it also feels like suddenly we're in a huge giant ocean. And before we were in just a little pond, and it was kind of nice to be in our pond. And I didn't realize how quickly we would become an ocean, and how quickly, things like having a show where I was like, oh, the price of Bitcoin is $100. That seems really absurd now. Like not a lot of people had a show where they're like, yeah, it was $100 or it was $300, or even worse, it goes up to $1,400 and it goes back to $300. I had a small car for a while there, and then I didn't have a small car. But
I'm less interested in like hearing how much Mike Novogratz can make on a Bitcoin. than to, let's say, find out, oh, some person on Reddit that had a story about selling Bitcoins for a chocolate bar or something like that. I'd like to hear those guys' story, the pizza guy's story. I'm curious about those guys and what happened to them.
As long as they're positive about it. Like the thing that I see so many times is, if you spent money as an early Bitcoiner, you helped make Bitcoin possible. It's you spending that money. It's you buying a hat. It's you doing something with your money that made Bitcoin possible and turned on more people. So I think we have to do that. But then too many times you hear this, oh yeah, I bought, a $5 or a 5 Bitcoin sticker or something like that. So.
All right, Thomas. Very nice talking with you today, and I'll let you go and enjoy the show.
All right, thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime.
Thanks.
All right. And now, if you guys would like to call us, we'll go ahead and switch back to the call now, lower third. There you go. You can call now at 1-518-600-1949. Or you can Skype us on WorldCryptoNetwork, all one word, on Skype for international callers. We're going to take a look at the chat. Let's see what's been going on. Ernest of Gaia says, hey, howdy, y'all. Listening from the cannabis trim scene in Oregon. It's funny, that used to be like an illicit message, like, oh, he's trimming cannabis. Oh, no. And now for a large percentage of the country, maybe, I don't know, 20 states or so. That's now just a job. That's a legal job, making some legal cannabis for people to buy and sell for medicine or recreation. It's great. They say the green hammer is called whack-a-mole. That's kind of funny. It's like guacamole, but whack-a-mole. I don't know. Maybe I added that. Disruptive Innovation Inform Op says, the idea of regulation is completely adverse to decentralization. I thought the collective ideas create our function. Is it both decentralized and centralized from here on out, or time will tell? That's an interesting idea. I do think, yes, a lot of the decentralization, a lot of the reason for doing decentralization is to fight regulation. But it's also to fight other things like potential downtime or natural disasters. If you have a flood in one sector, that wipes out part of your blockchain. If it's still being simulated and run by other computers, it's not so much a problem. So there are other aspects to it. But yeah, the regulation avoiding aspect is a big part of it. And I think that's what's led to a lot of these altcoins and DeFi and whatever else, ICOs and whatever else is going on now, because other people want to hide too. And when they're hiding, they might want to make a little money, make it easier to hide. So they kind of get bundled up in this whole thing. All the revolutionaries, all the profiteers, they're all in one boat. So interesting idea. Give us a call. Maybe we'll talk more about regulation and decentralization, if that's a topic you guys would like to cover today. I'm a Wombat says, aren't you guys sick of talking about Bitcoin? Seriously, interested to know. I'm not, well, I can speak for myself personally. I'm not sick of talking about it. I'm sick of talking about the price. I don't think it's that interesting. I mean, I have a handful of whatevers and hopefully it's all right and, pay off the house, that kind of thing. Pay off the car, that kind of thing. Maybe get a new car someday. I don't know. I need a new laptop. That would be nice. New laptop and a new Streamy box. So I guess I care about the price because of that, because I could get a new little boxy thing. But other than that, I don't care about the price that much. And I don't know. It's tough because the price is so much about Bitcoin. Like, it's our advertising. It's like it advertises to people and it says, hey, have you heard about this thing? It used to be $100. Now it's $10,000. That's good advertising, right? That's unstoppable advertising. It always advertises the same thing, though. It always advertises, hey, there's a thing you could make money on. It's not exactly as good as like being a part of a movement or a part of a group trying to change the world, spreading the word about Bitcoin, not just so people make money, but also so they can use money that makes them free. So I like talking about those aspects of Bitcoin. I've also been, obviously plug here, trying to spread out to the Thomas Hunt Show so I can talk more about politics and what's going on in the world. Recently, before the coronavirus outbreak in February and March, I thought it was important to talk about the potential for a coronavirus outbreak and the necessity to wear masks and to keep yourself safe. A lot of people got mad about that. That was a political thing, I guess. I think I've been completely right on the coronavirus. There's 200,000 dead in the United States, and I hope it's not you. I hope that you're wearing your mask and staying away from people. I also wanted to talk about politics. We have an upcoming coup in the United States. It's going to be fantastic. One of the greatest coups, one of the best coups, one of the most most bloody coups. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the coup, and people get really mad when you talk about politics or anything that's outside of their comfort zone. When I hear something outside of my comfort zone, I just want to know more about it. I want to understand it. I'm like, why do you do that? You know, you stab big metal things through your skin. Why do you do that? Is it joyful? It looks cool? It's like pleasurable? I don't know. I want to understand. I don't care if you do what you want to do in your own time, you know, but a lot of people feel the other way and they don't like it when you talk about other things. So we're trying to talk about Bitcoin here. Come on, Wombat, get on board here. This is the Bitcoin show. Call me on the other shows. We'll talk about something else. And if you'd like to call now, you could call us now on Skype at WorldCryptoNetwork, all one word, or at 1-518-600-1949. We're just checking in with the chat. Can't quite fit it on the screen here, but maybe I'll almost fit it right there. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Disruptive Innovation says, after gold is exhausted, I bet digital increases globally. It's taken 100 years for the reserve bankers of Wall Street to be exposed for corruption. Will be interesting. A lot of the early speculation that we used to do about the price of Bitcoin or the value of Bitcoin would be to take the gold market and then to say, well, what if Bitcoin took over 10% of the gold market? What if Bitcoin took over 1% of the gold market? What if it took 70% of the gold market, right? And then based on that, you could calculate a really nice value for the Bitcoin and you could feel like you're going to be really smart in the future. So I still think that's true, but we just have to wait. I also mentions, Disruptive mentions AI plus crypto equals Sophia, the robot, but she could be a coin. Oh, why didn't they put a coin in her? I almost got to see her. I was at the same conference that Sophia the robot was at in Malta. It was a blockchain conference, and it was nice of them to let me in. But yeah, it was. I saw a video of it later. It's an interesting looking robot, interesting looking AI or whatever it is. But yeah, they should tokenize that. Come on, get on it. Hi to Rolando Tech. Shout out. Good to know we're doing well. The chat box used to be fun. Fun is a relative term. Looks like we got another call. I got to set the audio. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas. This is Dan from Grand Rapids. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds good. How's it going, Dan? Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, you too. You want to do Bitcoin or politics?
It's up to you. We're supposed to be doing Bitcoin talk show today, but we could go any direction you want, man. All there.
All right. Well, I will just mention one thing about politics. Have you heard of Unity 2020?
I'm not sure I have. What? Refresh my memory.
Okay.
What was Unity?
A guy named Eric Weinstein is proposing to create a new political party where you take a conservative and a liberal and you marry them on a ticket and they vow to work together for everything except war and emergency crisis kind of stuff. And in the first election, they will flip a coin to determine who is president and who is vice president. And then in 4 years, they will actually switch positions. So one will be president and one will be vice president. And that is how they have determined to govern the country. And I think their proposal right now is on the first ticket. they're never going to get into this election, but they were proposing Tulsi Gabbard and General Petraeus to run together. So it's more of this is a reaction against the duopoly than because honestly, I really think the way the world, the way this country is going right now, you probably have 90% of the people that are just voting for not the other guy, and it's a magician's choice, right? Do you want A or B? Oh, I want B. Okay, well, stick with A then. Meanwhile, I haven't really given you any choice at all. So I just think it's very interesting and something that you might find interesting to look into.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty tough sell, not just at the box office or at the voting booth, where a lot of voting is you support someone that you believe in. A lot of people really believed in Bernie. A lot of people are okay with Biden. These kind of things. People love Trump, obviously, and so on. I think it's that belief. And the problem is, if you tied like Trump to Bernie, then, you have someone that people love like Trump and someone that they hate like Bernie. And I think their little minds would explode. So I think it's going to be really hard to get your average voter on board.
Also, yeah, I think the idea is that these two people that are running together would essentially agree that they have to work with their partner. And so you wouldn't get these very extreme people because they would get washed out automatically. So you would get two people that one of which, a lot of middle of the road liberals would want to vote for, and one of which a lot of middle of the road conservatives would want to vote for. So you're not necessarily, I feel like right now I'm in quite a bind because I'm not a fan of Trump, but I look at my alternative and I go, okay, I guess I'm going to vote for not Trump then. And that doesn't feel very good to me. It doesn't feel like out of all the people in this country that could potentially be a good president, these are our two choices. And I believe, maybe I'm oblivious, but I think that the majority of voters feel the same way. What is it? The Democrats are anything, blue, or I don't know, essentially vote for anybody but Trump kind of thing. And I just think to myself, there's a lot more middle of the road people than most people think. And there's a lot of people that are just like, they're sick of the battles, hey, let's bring it to Bitcoin, right? I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the U.S. and globally with the riots and, I think the race stuff, Black Lives Matter and all that jazz, is a symptom of a larger problem. And the larger problem is an economic one, the divide between the rich and poor. And people are getting angry and they don't really know what they're angry about. It's like the race issue is a symptom of an underlying problem. And oftentimes we know that when we get sick, we see the symptoms a lot, and then we go to a doctor to find out what the problem is, because we wouldn't know that we have cancer. We would just know, gee, I got a lump over here and this feels weird and I'm coughing more and what the hell is going on? And to get to the root of that problem, it's our economic system. And guess what? Doesn't matter who you elect. you're screwed either way. And the only way to do anything about it is to opt out, right? So hence we go back to Bitcoin. That's what I did. I was, Antonopoulos is the one that introduced me to Bitcoin. And when I heard that they pay with wars through inflation, and if there weren't money printing, then you can't have wars, I thought, okay, I'm done with fiat because that's not cool. And so I kind of said, look, the only way to do it is to opt out. And unfortunately, I don't think either of these parties, well, they may have good intentions, I guess. It's the system that's a problem. This system of really, the more money you have, the better off you are, and the more power you have, and that just becomes, money begetting money is exponential. If you're just a laborer, that's a linear path. The more you work, the more money you make, but that's very linear, and it caps out at a certain number of hours per week, and you're done. So I don't know. I think all of these problems are a socioeconomic one, and it's hard to say where it's going, because you see a lot of different opinions from everything's, the country's going to burst into flames if X person gets voted, to, yeah, it's going to be, here's the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, I'm going to avoid most of the politics there. But first, I want to go back that if you team these two people up, a conservative and a liberal, and you put them on the same ticket, again, I like the idea. I think it's, I don't know, it's like a good-minded.
At least original, right?
Well, it's not that original, because what I'm going to go back to is that the original plan for vice president and president of the United States is that the runner-up would become the vice president. And in the first 3 or 4 presidential elections, that is what happened. And you had an absolute nightmare of a system where the vice president didn't agree with the president. They wouldn't work together. They'd work against each other, and then they'd run against each other again in the 4 years. So I really think it leads to...
That wasn't a partnership, right?
No, that was
not two people saying, I like this other person, even though I may disagree with some of their stuff. I am willing to work with them.
They were just forced together. Like if Trump was 1 and Bernie was 2, it's like all of a sudden you're married. So I could see how it would have problems. But even again, more modern in a partnership, I wouldn't want a partner like LBJ. I'm not saying anything about it, but it doesn't seem like he was a very good friend to John F. Kennedy. And then you can read more. But so there's little things there like that. Whenever you look at the Roman history, remember most of the Roman emperors were murdered by the Praetorian Guard, and the Praetorian Guard was like the secret service. Their job was to protect Roman emperors.
That didn't work well.
Yeah, no, it did not. And whenever the wind blew, the Praetorian Guard went the other way, and the whole empire flipped. But I learn from history or not,
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see how it is. I don't know. For me, I think this is it's a cliche to say it, but the most important election of our lifetimes. I think it's kind of the last democratic election in the United States. So we should really enjoy it, really breathe it in when you're in the voting booth or if you're at home voting.
Well, let me ask you this. The last democratic election, you say, what do they say? Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others.
Sure. Churchill. Yeah.
So what do you see is the outcome of this?
Well, I mean, I think, it's like we're a crash test dummy and we're in the car and we just hope that the seatbelt works. Like you just hope that there's an airbag or a seatbelt. I know Ralph Nader put the airbags there and the cops are forcing you to wear seatbelts, and I just hope you're wearing one. I think we go headlong into this, straight into it. The current president has many anti-democratic instincts that you can't even joke about anymore because he's made them all public. Like he said that he doesn't trust the absentee ballots or the mail-in ballots, even though factually, scientifically, there's just no fraud. There's somebody got their name wrong. Somebody spelled their name differently. There's these minor things. The fact that no one's going in there and voting 5,000 or 500,000 times, there's no significant fraud there. So the fact that he's rallying against that and going against it, the fact he's got people already at the polls blocking people from voting at early voting in Virginia, the fact that he said jokingly that he should be given 2 or 3 more terms because he was spied on during his first term. That's a joke. But again, he said that publicly. So all the horrible things that I would say might happen, he's already said publicly, which is, again, it's a really great, denial type system where you can do anything now. You can say, I would kill someone on 5th Avenue. And now it doesn't matter because you've said it. So now that you do it, it's like, he just did what he said. I think we're in one of those. I think there's a lot of distrust in the system on both sides. People don't believe in it. They believe there's a conspiracy and all these things. I think Biden is a very middle of the road centrist candidate. The attempts to paint him as extremely liberal or extremely senile have failed.
Right.
If anything, the senile attack bounces back horribly on the current president. So much so you'd think they wouldn't use it, but there's no kind of decency or no kind of bottom or floor in that anymore. They'll do anything. It's very clear.
Do you do you have any reservations about Biden making it 4 years?
Well, I think first of all, he's already been pretty clear about not even wanting to run for another 4. So we could have a legitimate caretaker president, a person who comes in, kind of normalizes the system, kind of cools it down, just chills everybody out. There's a lot of anger on both sides. If we could get back to some kind of middle, which is going to be almost impossible with the Supreme Court thing that's happening now. So yeah, we need to get back to the middle.
I almost feel like maybe we shouldn't have a president for 4 years and let everybody just get a little sigh of relief and go, okay, we're all just going to chill out for 4 years. Let's not do anything.
Well, that's definitely what's going to be
take
studied.
A deep breath.
Like the big thing to be studied here, and the historic thing, which again, we take ourselves out of it. We take our survival out of it. And we say, what mistake did the founding fathers make? Clearly, the founding fathers never thought that Congress, especially the Senate, would give up all of their power to a powerful president. We've had that. The Senate is gone, right? They completely capitulated. They haven't been investigating. They've been blocking all the investigations, all these things, which used to be in their own interest. If you were a senator, you wanted to be powerful. You wanted to have stuff. But they've given that all up to get this president in, to get these court seats, both lower and upper. And they're going for it. They're going for the end game. So this is it. And that kind of end game thinking, like right now, okay, so forget it. We're going right into politics and all that. But right now,
sorry,
it's your fault, Dan. But
I know.
But anyway, because I tried really hard to talk about Bitcoin.
I know.
But right now, like what's going to happen with the Supreme Court? Let's imagine a scenario, if you will. What if Donald Trump nominated Merrick Garland? What if he nominated Obama's pick that they stole and they put Garland on the court just for a second? Mm-hmm. There would be so much peace. There would be so much, like Garland. He's a centrist. Like he's very central in a lot of his positions. Certainly Roe v. Wade. He's not gonna overturn that. But everything else, he's a centrist. He's not very dramatic. He'd be kind of a middle of the road vote. He'd swing left and right depending on the issue. It wouldn't really affect the court. It would return things to a stalemate or a tie where no one would win, which would actually be good for the pro-life forces. They could continue fighting. They could continue fundraising. The problem with the kind of win that they're about to have is that it's the end. All right, this is the end. There's no more fundraising. Roe v. Wade gets flipped. Abortion goes from being publicly available for poor people who made a mistake to only available for rich people who can fly somewhere else. Poor people get back alley abortions with a coat hanger in an alleyway. Maybe they live, maybe they die. Who cares? They're poor, right? Or maybe they get saddled with a child that destroys their ability to work, destroys their ability to go to college, and alters their life forever against their will because they were poor. That's the system that we're heading for. Current system, everyone has access to this choice. If you have a religious choice or a life choice, you could put it up for adoption or you could raise it yourself. Again, you made the choice to have the sex that led to the baby. So yes, it was all a choice in the beginning.
I think one of the interesting things I've heard is that if for example Trump did not pick someone until the election, it's almost being irresponsible to his constituents, right? It's irresponsible to the people that voted him in, because the assumption is that the people voted him in wants this. And so from his standpoint, if he backed away and said, no, I'll wait until the election, I would see, he is the president. He has the ability to do it. He has the power to do that. And if it would almost be bizarre if he didn't do it. And I get, out of respect and all that jazz. But here's the other thing that you mentioned that I think is really interesting, is that he's not morally obligated to do it or anything like that. But if he wanted to make peace, if he wanted something to say, let's unite, let's all calm down and like realize that we're all one people and all one country, and I'm going to pick a middle of the roader, which yes might upset my constituents, but I'm trying to unite the country. And I think that's one of his biggest failings that he's not doing, is he's the leader of half the country essentially, and just doesn't care at all about the other half.
Well, yeah, if you leave the blue states out, less people died.
Right.
Like, it's absurd. But
yeah.
No, I think they're going to go all the way. I think that the reason that Trump, again, he probably has to appoint somebody, but what we're looking for is for Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham to stand up here and say, hey, 4 years ago, we made a precedent. We said the voters should have a choice. We did that to protect our people and our rights. And now we're going to do it to protect everyone and everyone's rights, and that we're not going to take it up, and that they could just say that. And again, we knew in 2016 that they weren't going to do this. In 2016, I was advocating that Obama should pocket appoint a Supreme Court justice, that during the recess, when Congress is out, the president can make appointments. They're called pocket appointments. And it's never been done for Supreme Court justice before. It's disrespectful to the other side. You don't get to advise and consent and have a hearing and all those things. You're just appointed. But no, I would have done it. You meet fire with fire. You don't let them steal the seat. Instead, Obama allows them to steal the seat, which emboldens them and sets us up for this time when they're going to steal the seat again.
Well, and it's getting to the point where all's fair in love, war, and politics, right?
Yep.
So if I think it's going to get ugly if everybody just says there are no rules. The gloves are off. This respect for other people and other people's ideas is a cute idea of the past.
Yep.
And it's going to be all out war in, whatever way we can manipulate Robert's Rules of Order to be able to get the upper hand. That's what we're going to do.
The Senate can ask for cloture on every single vote. You're going to have voice votes on every single thing you want to do. The House of Representatives can impeach the president or the attorney general or anyone else. The impeachment has to be put on the calendar. If I was the Democrats, I would do all of those things, try to block this nomination. And even then, I would still do the plan to admit D.C. and Puerto Rico and to stack the court. I think 13 sounds nice. I've heard other people say 18 is good. So
I think they're going to the mattresses. I think everybody is.
We need the Democrats, though, to step up. The problem in the past is that the Republicans have always been, it's like Cobra Kai, and I've been watching that a lot lately on Netflix.
I've just watched the first episode.
Oh, I love it. I won't reveal anything, but I just love the show.
Does it get better? The first episode was a little bit slow.
I think it gets better. I don't know. I thought it was dynamite from the beginning, and I'm 80s kid and all that stuff, and I watched the originals. And but in Cobra Kai, they're always the evil. They're the bad ones. They're marching in. They're ready to kick you in your legs or whatever. That's always been the Republicans. Like the group in Nixon's office was called CREEP.
Strike first.
Campaign to reelect the president. They were the plumbers. They plugged leaks. Like that, we all learned about this. I learned all about Watergate. It's been very public history for a person my age, and it's always been there. Whereas the Democrats have always been like, "Oh shucks, we just hope everything works out. I just think democracy is going to go." And I remember in 2000 being horrified at the election and at Al Gore giving it up. I was like, "Don't give up till the votes are counted." This is democracy, right? That's a very basic, nonpartisan thing. If it was the other way, and W. Bush was down and I was in favor of him, I would say, "Hey, count those votes." What's going on? But that's not the way the Republicans felt in 2000. That's not the way they felt in 1972, and it's not the way they feel now. So really, they've gotten away with this realpolitik, this hardcore stuff for a long time now. And the question is if the Democrats listen to the liberal wing. I've already heard that there's debates. AOC and crew is pretty much saying what I'm saying. Let's stall this any way we can. Let's burn the House down. Everything's on the table. Yep. And then let's put in some more seats, get some more senators, and pack the court. And
That's what I would do.
let's put an amendment through or something that says you can't pack the court anymore. Like, let's close the door. Let's finish it off. And all the other stuff about voting rights. It's become even more clear than it used to be that Republicans are afraid of people voting. So I know how to do that too. Make it easier for people to vote as a national issue. Let's end this thing. Trump already went out there and said, if you switch to vote by mail, Republicans will never win. I can't believe he actually said that, but he actually said that. It's always been true. I've worked on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. Republicans know they have less people. Democrats know they have more people. Anyone that's interested in this knows it's true, whether you like to believe it or not. The numbers are there. And again, if all the gloves are off, if there are no rules,
all the gloves are off.
Let's do it. Let's make everyone automatically registered to vote in the whole country. Let's make it vote by mail for everyone. Let's make it really easy, and boom, done. Like, what else you got?
Can we do ranked choice voting at the same time?
I love ranked choice voting. They just passed it. It
seems bizarre to me that we're not doing it.
It's been a long time because since 2000, I've been heavily interested in election issues. And yeah, it drives me crazy that, well, it did just happen in Maine. Maine is going to do ranked choice voting for the presidency. I'm not sure if it's this time or next time, but it has reached that level. I think ranked choice voting is much better. I think voting day should be a holiday. Voting should be easy. Voting should be automatic. Voting should move around with you, like when you move your mail or anything like that. Anything we can do to make this easier. And again, that gets a little tricky because it's a state issue versus a national issue. But we've done this before, right? If you want the states to follow your drug enforcement policies, you create a big program with millions of dollars of grants. And if you want the grant, you harmonize your program and you apply for the grant. So states that don't harmonize their voting systems don't get the grant. It's really easy, and 90% will harmonize. Like, you just have to change things. So, but that's, again, if we still have a democracy and not an autocracy, and if we're not completely run by Russia.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that if we still have a democracy, I'm having a hard time feeling that we do anyway. And I just think that the money rules everything. And in all honesty, I really feel like if one of the Koch brothers said to Trump, hey, I want a liberal on the Supreme Court, he'd be like, all right. I mean, it's just a matter of who's donated to whose campaign. And it's the rich people that run the world, not the politicians. And, here I'll geek out for a second. If you think of Game of Thrones, right? When the one kingdom fell and the king, they were replacing the king and they didn't know who they were going to go with. Well, the people they went with was who paid the guards. Who pays the guards? The guy that pays the guards wins, because at the end of the day, it's just about money. It's all about money. So yeah. So Bitcoin. As far as Andreas goes, I have listened many times to many of this stuff, and I think that, first of all, he totally gets a free pass on most anything that he might do. I feel to some degree the same way about Roger Ver. If Roger Ver said, you know what, I made a mistake, I'm coming back to Bitcoin, I would hope that the community would, at least to some degree, welcome him with open arms. But the other thing I think that's important to recognize, especially for the people that are Bitcoin maximalists, I think for the most part, most Bitcoin maximalists are really single chain maximalists. What they're really saying is, all the smart money is going to go to one place. It's eventually all going to be on one system and one platform. There's no need for this other stuff. You only need one of these networks, like TCP/IP. But if you then back them into a corner and say, well, do you personally know what's the best block time? What's the best block weight? Have we figured that out? Have we decided? Do we know what that is? Do we know what those optimal numbers are? What's the best coin cap, right? 21 million. kind of arbitrary. Then again, I don't know if maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe it could have been 1 and just infinitely divisible, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So yeah, I think that there are other interesting technologies, and it should not be condemned to be open to looking at those other technologies and saying, hey, this is an interesting technology. And I'll bet you if you said to Andreas, should I buy some Ethereum? He'd be like, I have no idea, dude. Like, don't ask me that. I don't know what the price is going to do. That's not my job. My job is to tell you, this is some interesting technology. And so to me, it's almost like a researcher back in the day when we had, we had TCP/IP and token ring. And if a researcher said, hey, token ring is kind of interesting, there's some interesting technology there, and everybody going, you bastard, how can you possibly be talking about token ring or even write a book about it? You're just a horrible person. Like, no, we all need to back up and be a little more forgiving, a little more compassionate, and just chill out a little bit. So that's my Bitcoin thing.
Well, I definitely think that part of the problem is what you're saying there, that Andreas doesn't fit into this Bitcoin price only feature that we have now. Everyone's only interested in the price, and all the commentators are like, I'm a price commentator first and a technology commentator 20th or whatever.
Well, that's what gets the views, right? That's what gets the eyeballs.
Yeah, and I think he's still rebelling against that. He's saying, hey, I'm interested in the technology, and when I see this other new technology, I think that's interesting too. And then I see this other one, I think that's interesting, and that's interesting. And that's, that's what he seems to be doing. He's going in all kinds of different directions, and it seems like he's come back to Bitcoin a little bit now that he's mastering Lightning Network. Although it sure was funny for him to say nothing like Switzerland during the whole debate, never to take a side. And then now that all the chips have settled, he's taken a side and writing a book for one side. So isn't that great? But
well, yeah, but I don't think, you could look at that a different way too, right? You could look at that with a little more compassion and say, hey, he didn't take a side because his brand is essentially, I don't take a side, right? He does want to be Switzerland.
That's a horrible brand.
What makes you think that?
It's like brand coward. It's like brand non-opinion.
No,
it's like brand because not taking a side, like, and you did this earlier, Dan. You said that the two presidential candidates were equal, and you're not taking a side and whatever. That just lets evil win. Like, if there is evil out there, and I think there's evil, not taking a side when there is clear evil lets evil win.
Yeah, but you can also be, I think which side you're on should come from your principles, not based on which way the wind blows.
Well, and
right?
we were out there in the street. We were the UASF people. We were the community fighting against the powerful miners. Clearly, Bitmain wanted Bitcoin Cash. Bitmain bought a bunch of it. They owned it. They could mine it. It was pretty clear who the big people were and who the small people were. And still, he stayed on the side and let us fight that war. Never came to our defense. Never came to our aid. Same thing, no 2X. The corporations had a board meeting. They decided that they were going to expand the Bitcoin block size. Bop, bop. In the meeting, done. The people, the normal people, looked around and they said, hey, we don't need this. If we don't need this, we're not doing it now. The normal people won.
Okay.
Both of those without his sword. Like, I'm looking, and again, at any point in the fight, he could have come in late. He could have come in early. He could have come in the middle. I'm looking for him. And no, Gandalf just stayed up on the hill, never rode down with his white horse and his army.
Right.
There was no army for us.
What if at this point Gandalf comes down and goes, you know what, guys, maybe I should have been involved with that. Maybe I should have given my opinion to it.
But that would mean that he'd be taking a side against endless altcoins. That he would be saying, hey, maybe we need to slow down on all this stuff. maybe not give $1 million to the DAO. You know, maybe we need to slow down on these kind of things. And that would be a cool stance too.
Hasn't he called most of them garbage?
I'm not sure it matters the way he's promoting them. Like, I mean, I've got the,
but I mean, the only one he's promoted is Ethereum, right?
I don't know. I went to his Twitter account. Here's one right here. It says, dive into Ripcord blockchains. Dive into sharing with others why Ripcord blockchains are the only blockchains worth discussing. Help others to ask, is it revolutionary, immutable, permissionless, collaborative, open, and resistant to change, decentralized? Now, I don't know what Ripcord blockchains are at all, but not only has he got a tweet here promoting it, but he's also selling stickers. So I don't know, maybe this is his idea of like what a Ripcord is or what a blockchain is. There's a link to the shop. Looks like it's not loading for some reason, but there it is. And again, this when I just loaded up this shop, I've never looked at it before. This is the first time. I'm not getting a good feeling here, Dan. It says Bitcoin pizza emoji, 15-ounce mug. It's an ASCII kind of pizza art. The same pizza art's on some casual leggings. And then it says, not your keys, not your coins. Now, you know, I don't have a lot of money in this world, and I don't care about money, really. But the internet didn't give me $1 million to do research a few years ago. Like, if the internet gave me $1 million to do research, I don't think if things had gone well, and I don't know what happened, maybe it's gone. You know, maybe he held it or he lost it or whatever. But if things had gone well, I don't think I'd be selling Bitcoin pizza emoji mugs and not your keys, racerback tanks. And again, he probably doesn't make any of the choices on this. I don't know what Ripcord is. It seems to be some brand he's selling. It's cool. He's got his books in other languages. That's awesome. Like, I like that. That's cool. But yeah, this just doesn't ring that great to me. But again, it's very professionally done. I like all his, I'm admiring all of his graphics. I'm admiring all of his thumbnails. I'm trying to take notes and do it myself. I just have me. I don't have a big team or a photographer or anything like that. But yeah, I just don't know when I see things like this. And it just doesn't seem, it seems like the whole not taking a side thing has led to this. Like, if I wasn't taking a side, I could do anything like this that I wanted, and there'd be nothing wrong with it because I never took a side in the first place. So,
I mean, can you understand his desire to be
No.
neutral?
No. Historically, I can't. Historically, I can't because I've read too many stories about a country that remained neutral, and then the other countries around it built up their armies, and then they roll through that country. I mean, I guess if he was, it depends. Is he Poland? No offense to Poland, but according to my historical research, Poland has no mountains, no rivers, no natural boundaries. So whenever anyone wanted to run troops across Poland, they just did. So I guess if he was Poland and I felt that he had no mountains or no natural defenses and he was in a position of absolute weakness, that I would respect neutrality. Otherwise, like, as much as I want to be,
if he did it out of fear,
sure.
Then that's
if he did it out of fear, it's fine. If he chose, as he thought it was a higher standing, he thought it was a noble pursuit to be neutral, I disagree, because there's a war on. There's a war for ideas, and not taking a side is, in my mind, aiding the bad people.
So do you think, I mean, you know, not to go back to the political stuff, but I mean, are we talking about the cancel culture stuff? You know, if he makes one mistake or many, whatever the case might be, of which he can never be forgiven for, and he is now ostracized from the community. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I look at the world and I just go, you know, can't we all just get along? It's like, why it feels like everything is catastrophic and everything is the end of the world if I don't win kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I think that's more reason not to say neutral. Like, if everyone's staying neutral and everything seems bad outside, then everyone needs to take sides and see what happens. I don't think that we should ostracize him or cut him out or cancel him. I don't think we should do any of those things. And I don't think that he's made one mistake. I think he made a tactical mistake to say neutral, and then I think a series of mistakes followed from that bad mistake. But again, I'm fine with him promoting Bitcoin or promoting Ethereum or promoting Lightning or whatever he wants to do. I'm totally fine with all this. I like him. But no, I disagree with staying neutral. I forget the quotes, but there's a bunch of good quotes about how, there's a special place in hell for people who are made neutral in times of crisis, things like that.
Right. It's the lack of action by that allows evil to exist. Or
it really does. And I kind of thought that he was on board with that. I kind of thought the whole like Bitcoin thing and talking about Bitcoin and the unbanked people and all that was like an attempt to bring power to people who don't have power. And that's a very revolutionary thing. And that's a very active thing. And, to stop doing that, to stop giving power to powerless people in the middle of a major and early fight, a fight that I think what is his name, the CEO of MicroStrategy, he's been saying a lot of stuff recently.
Yeah.
And it seems like that fight inspired him. It seems like the users and the miners and the coders and the normal people putting it out there for the UASF, putting it out there for the No 2X, showed him how unfragile Bitcoin is and how strong the Bitcoin ledger and the ability to keep these rules the same could be. Even though, again, some people don't have lots of money into it, some people can't program it, some people don't know it, whatever. All these people came together and fought this thing.
Well, that's good stuff. I'm going to have to look into the ripcord and see exactly what it is, because I'm... it says Ripcord Blockchains. I just noticed the title, Distinguishing Blockchain Value from Blockchain Bullshit. So I wonder if
oh boy,
right? Yeah.
It's so bad because, and again, I clearly I am where I am, but it sounds like you've now just set up a big religion detector, and I can tell you if your religion is a cult or not, and I can tell you if your God is real. And that's, again, boy, talk about not taking a side. Whew, that's a lot of siding. He's taking a lot of sides all of a sudden for a guy who doesn't take sides. But yeah, I just don't know about all this. And again, it's probably, he's got other people working for him. He's got a whole team. I mean, for all I know, I thought for a minute Ripcord was like, a category of something or just a brand. I don't know.
Maybe it sounds like Schnorr signatures, or maybe some technology that can be rolled into the blockchain or something weird like that. But
that'd be great. That'd be great if he wants to develop a technology or something like that, or fund some Bitcoin coders. But then the problem is you could fund coders on any one of the Ripcord blockchains. Oh, it's
right.
And we lost a lot of our focus. And I really thought, again, going back to sound money, from the beginning when I analyzed the world historically, I was like, wow, unsound money is a big problem. Like the ability to create imaginary wealth, the ability to fund the purchasing of weapons, the use of weapons, to fund the reconstruction, and then to fund the purchasing of weapons and the use of weapons. I thought that was a really big problem, something worth solving, not something, making a T-shirt or whatever, or having a Ripcord blockchain, or having another meetup or another cool Q&A, or, I'm going to do 30 Q&A on random coin because, no reason, it's random coin. I don't know. You have a choice. Like I try to do videos on Bitcoin. When I do videos on politics, I try to do them on what I think are important issues. I'm not trying to look for a smaller issue. I'm not trying to diminish my message,
Yeah. It's funny when it starts to become your business and you have to make money off of it. I wonder, I would imagine that it's fairly common to compromise some of your principles because you've got bills to pay, and you just go, well, just this one time I will ... So yeah.
Well, that's why. That's what I love about his.
Research.
I love about his defense here. He says right here, the only reason I can speak my mind is because I am self-employed and independently financed by donations. Otherwise, they'd be after my employer or sponsors to cancel me, just like they tried with my book co-authors. So
everybody's got a boss.
Well, that's the thing. He says he doesn't. But
yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's not true.
But
I'm going to let somebody else jump on. So was good talking to you, Thomas. I always appreciate your insight, and I hope that we're headed for a less divided world instead of a more divided world, and I hope that people. I hope it's the desire of people to get to that destination as opposed to I just want to win, because I think honestly a world that is only one-sided would in my mind almost be as frightening, because if one of the other I wonder how many liberals would say, hey, if the Democrats had the presidency, the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court for the rest of time, how would you feel about that? And that, the problem is that it would corrupt their power, and we'd end up in the same boat in 50 years. So I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes. Thanks so much for the call, Dan. It's good chatting with you again.
Thank you, Thomas.
We're going to try to get these going on Wednesdays. I'm trying to get back to a regular schedule, but it's tough because I'm moving around and I don't really have a solid desk to work from. I had to build this desk on a kitchen table out of a variety of parts. Previously, I built a desk out of card tables and TV trays, and I can tell you, don't do that. Don't do that. My hard drive started failing because my desk wasn't solid, is the theory. The theory we're going with is that, they were like record players and they were on these non-stable tables. And they're so small now, these hard drives and the record needle thing. When it was trying to write, it couldn't hit the right sector because it was moving and it was wiggling. And so it would have all these bad writes and it would have an error. And I was getting really strange errors and I had new hard drives and I was losing data and I was freaking out. And I think it's because of the non-solid table. I think I need a nice solid table to run my hard drives.
Got to make that trip to IKEA.
Oh, I know. But then you got to have the space for that thing. My stupid IKEA desk takes up a whole room, so I haven't found a room to set it up in yet. But that's where it is. But
well, good luck with that, Thomas.
Thank you, Dan, and thanks for the call.
Maybe I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
That'd be great. Give us a call then. It's great to hear from you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much, Dan. And if you'd like to call us right now, we have time for maybe one more caller. If you guys would like, the phone number is in the chat right now. It's 1-518-600-1949, or you can Skype us at WorldCryptoNetwork, all one word. We were talking about this Andreas drama, but I didn't get a chance to read any of the juicy quotes. So I'm going to go through some of the juicy quotes. If you guys would like to call in to talk about politics or Andreas or Bitcoin or anything that's on your mind, I'd be glad to talk about this. Maybe I'm not going to read some of these words. Let's see. Andreas was having some trouble. He'd went on an episode with Peter McCormick, and it sounds like he'd gotten a lot of negative opinion. Let's read what Andreas says. Here's Andreas Antonopoulos. He says, "In the week since this episode came out, I've been called let's just say a lot of bad words and idiot. I've had my book co-authors told to stop working with me to avoid negative effects on their career. I've been threatened in direct messages. Self-righteous armchair zealots who are completely intolerant of any divergence of opinion have been threatening, harassing, and trying to cancel me for years. This may appear like a philosophical discussion, but it is a very real campaign of harassment from where he stands." Meanwhile, he's received dozens of supportive messages, mostly in DMs by people who don't want to open themselves to similar attacks by speaking publicly. One reason Andreas says that he can speak his mind is because he's self-employed and independently financed by donations. Otherwise, they'd be after his employer or sponsors to cancel him, just like they tried with his book co-authors. He's often accused of taking bribes and secret financing, often from different contradictory sources. To Bitcoin forkers, I'm a Blockstream shill. even while Blockstream employees attack me publicly for shilling ETH, while ETH fanatics call me a Bitcoin maxi. That's pretty tough. Adam Back responded to him, saying that not sure it's an attack to say you were shilling ETH, but it did kind of look that way. But to be fair, the Mastering ETH book is not new. I agree. Bad idea, in Adam's opinion. What next? Mastering Tron? Mastering Ripple? Where does it end? But it's a free world, and it's your reputation. Andreas responded and said, ironically, the reason I've been called a Blockstream shill is that I argued against all the conspiracy bullshit leveled at your company. I've always treated you and your colleagues with respect, and I certainly haven't called anyone names. I'm disappointed it isn't reciprocated. Again, Andreas is probably referring to Samson Mao there. And I like Samson, but Samson's always been a bit of a troll. So Samson probably said something to Andreas and rubbed him the wrong way, and he's never forgotten about it. Something like that, I'm sure. And let's see. I think that's about it. Let's see. Shocking thought, Andreas says. I disagree for free. I don't need to get paid by someone to have an opinion, and I don't take money from any company or project. Never have, never will. My contributions are from Patreon and YouTube memberships and are entirely voluntary. It's very cool. Even then, I've had to face several campaigns to cancel me by encouraging people to stop donating on Patreon because of my treasonous opinions. Oh, imagine if you ever said anything right-left. Woof! That'll get you. Andreas says, I've never made this personal. I've never named people or attacked anyone ad hominem. I criticize ideas and express my opinion. But don't for a moment think this isn't personal, because the attacks against me are very personal and vicious. And we read that already. And we talked about this weird ripcord blockchain thing. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe Dan will call in, tell us more next time. And he's got a shop if you want to buy stuff related to Andreas. A lot of Bitcoin logos. Makes me think I should do some more Bitcoin art with logos on it. But you can check out the Andreas Antonopoulos shop. He's got a lot of cool stuff there. I like his Internet of Money books. These are cool. He's got them in Russian and Spanish, other languages now. He says the solution is to stop trying to use money, a tool, to fight crime, human nature. But if you think the hypocrites will back down and adopt sensible systems and laws that enable human trade and economic inclusion, you are wrong. They will double down with even more control. Seems like a good reason not to say neutral. He says, this FinCEN leak is worthy of our ridicule because it reveals the hypocrisy of those who argue that cryptocurrency is for money laundering. Banking is money laundering on a massive scale, but the solution is not to tighten controls on money. That won't work. See, we still agree with him here. He's still right on. He says, I won't become a maximalist or exclude the broader audience who needs to understand the stakes. That's a gambling word. I mentioned Bitcoin as the primary example of these principles, but not to the exclusion of the broader ecosystem. I always choose words carefully and in service to my principles. Feels like there should be another gambling word at the end. And come on, 7. I don't know, something there. Big money. He says, because I'm not and won't become a maximalist. Again, Vitalik really did a number on us with these language, huh? I saw it happening. I remember when I studied the Constitution, and there were two groups. There were the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. And who won? Oh, the Federalists won because they were fighting for something. And it's much better to be fighting for something than to be fighting against something, to be defined by your opposition. What Vitalik's done with this Bitcoin maximalist term that's entered into general parlance now is he's defined the Bitcoiners in a negative way. You could be a Bitcoin Unitarian. You could be a Bitcoin Universalist. You could believe that, Bitcoin's just the best. Other things are okay, but Bitcoin's the best. But the way that Vitalik's defined it is that you think Bitcoin's the best and you hate everything else. You're a maximalist. It's a discriminatory term. It's a racist term, really. You're racist against the other coins. You think they're no good, which might be factually true, but he sure did nail us. He got us good with that one. And now he's got Andreas playing into the same trap. Andreas says, because I'm not and won't become a maximalist. It's funny, I'm starting to read these in kind of an Adam West voice. I've been watching a lot of the original Batman 1966 television show, and it's very interesting. So he says, because I'm not and won't become a maximalist. Crypto is short for cryptosportium. Not sure about that. Stop trying to police my language. If you don't like it, you know how to unfollow. I remember when Andreas unfollowed me. He unfollowed everyone. He doesn't follow anyone. It's lousy too. But yes, I think crypto is short for cryptography. But good luck on that. This was Disrupt 2013, even though the video says it's from 2014 for some reason. This is a classic Andreas speech. I'm not sure if this is the one I'm looking for or not. I was looking for one with big words on the stage. I don't remember if those words were Bitcoin or disrupt. But let's just remember again why we all fell in love with Andreas and why he's so great. Here's just a little bit of this speech from 2013.
All about email. Money is just the first application. Bitcoin is a technology, it is a currency, and it is an international network of payments and exchange that is completely decentralized. It doesn't rely on banks, it doesn't rely on governments. And we have never done this before in the history of humanity. This invention is truly revolutionary. And when we look back at these moments, we will see that this is a historic moment in the evolution of computer science, but also a social and political revolution in the making. So let's get started. Bitcoin is digital money. It's money just like euros or dollars, only it's not owned by a government. And you can send it from any point in the world to any other point in the world, instantaneously, securely, and for minimal or no fees at all. 2 days ago, we saw one of the largest transactions ever recorded on the Bitcoin network, where someone transferred $150 million between two Bitcoin accounts in 1 second for 0 fees. And just that allows you to grasp how disruptive this technology is going to be in terms of international payment systems.
There's a little bit of Andreas Antonopoulos from The Future of Money, Disrupt 2013 in Athens, Greece. What a great speech. What a great speaker. Still the best. Even all this nonsense, just put it all aside. Andreas is the best. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more news, and then we're going to get out of here. Why Bitcoin and big energy are unlikely allies. Well, you can store some of your power in Bitcoin, and then you don't have to have so many batteries. Also, it's great for hydroelectric dams. Bitcoin FUD and negative social sentiment typically precede a bounce. Social media sentiment for Bitcoin has slumped to 2-year lows, which are good for those wanting to go against the crowd. Sounds pretty good. Used to be an article here, but it disappeared. Let's keep going. Bitcoin-related ads are now streaming on Disney Plus in some reasons, thanks to ZebPay. Learn about simple, secure Bitcoin, the ads state. Well, that sounds good. New York Bitcoin mining company looking to invest $100 million. Bitcoin has been on the rise for the past few years, and now Foundry, a Bitcoin mining company, is headquartered in Rochester, New York. The company is investing in Bitcoin and the city of Rochester. Cool. And finally, turbulent crypto markets expected. $87,000 worth of Bitcoin options set to expire on Friday. Exciting. 77% of the action is held on the Deribit exchange. Let's see. There are 87,000 Bitcoin options set to expire this Friday. The exchange also detailed that 77% are held on Deribit. Moreover, $459,000 worth of Ethereum options are set to expire on the same day, also 90% held on Deribit. It would be a great day for Deribit to go down or have server problems, right? So we'll see how that is. Keep your eye on Friday. It says there's been some capitulation in Bitcoin, according to Skew Research. There's a number of occasions where crypto derivatives produced volatile crypto spot markets, while other times expiry dates can be lackluster. So yes, it could go this way or it could go that way. Some people like to go both ways. And check out the Thomas Hunt Show on our brand new YouTube channel. You can subscribe. You could be one of the first 25 subscribers to our new channel, where we're also live streaming this episode as well. We're going to be doing more politics stuff over there, but we're also going to be doing more book stuff, video games, movies, anything that I want to talk to that's about off topic, something that's off topic is going to go over there. You can also check out the Thomas Hunt Show on Twitter at Thomas Hunt Show, where we have 13 followers. You could join the first 20 subscribers on Twitter as well. And now a moment to recognize my Stream Deck video player that doesn't work. This was my little Stream Decky thing. It's only a 6, and it was cool, but it stopped working. So I'd like to have a fundraiser to buy a new Stream Decky thing. Let's see. Come on, computer. Full screen. All the screens. Okay, some of the screens. Back to the main screen, which is harder to do because I don't have a stream box. But these things, this is the 15-key model. They don't seem to have the 6-key model that I got for a pretty sweet price. It's $144.91. So you know what I did? I started a fundraiser right here on Tallycoin, tallyco.in. You can create your own Bitcoin Lightning fundraiser. All you need is a Bitcoin address. You get that at your wallet. You bring it from your wallet to Tallycoin. Tallycoin can never take any of your fundraising money. Tallycoin is just a cool website with a little meter, shows you how much money you've raised. So right here, let's say you want to send $5 in Bitcoin. You can push the button right there. Something will happen. Apparently it doesn't show the QR code in some versions of Chrome on the Mac or something like that, but try it out. It should work on your version, hopefully. Tallycoin right here in the description below. We're trying to raise funds. I guess it really doesn't work if it doesn't show the QR code. TJ Booth made things too fancy. Things got too expansive, too many features. Let me see here. I'm going to try to load a different browser window. See if that makes a difference. Survey says it's the same to me. Let's see. No QR code here either. It must be broken on all Macintoshes or something, which is a pretty big broken feature. So if you could figure out how to donate to this fundraiser, you could help out. Maybe I'll put the link in the chat. Chat's been a little slow lately anyway. Oh, you can't put links in this chat. How dare you? Shit. I'm blocked from putting links in my own chat. Great job, YouTube. But it's because I'm on a different account. Oh, not that one either. Oh, well, whatever. You guys can figure it out. We'll run it again tomorrow. Maybe DJ. Hey, we got 5,000 Satoshis. Thanks so much to Dennis in the chat. Somehow he figured out how to send to this thing. I can't figure it out. But he sent us 5,000 Satoshis. We're well on our way towards our goal of 1,375 Satoshis. That's around $144.91 to buy a new Stream Deck, which will allow me to switch between views again faster, like I used to on the one that broke. But that's about it. Going to go ahead and end this show now. Thanks to everyone for giving us a thumbs up and a share. Be sure to subscribe down below. Check out the new Thomas Hunt Show YouTube channel and Twitter account, all that kind of stuff. Thanks for donating. Thanks to everybody who called in. It was fun to chat with you guys. We're going to try to do this again next Wednesday for another episode of Bitcoin Talk Show where you can call in. That's right. It's awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.